Most of us are all too familiar with the battle over marriage.
Homophobia's got to go.
It's grown full of angry activists, soundbite slogans, and seemingly no common ground. That's why one church rented a nightclub in downtown St. Louis and invited both sides for an evening of calm discussion over the red-hot topic. Taking center stage, gay philosopher John Corvino and Christian philosopher Matthew Lee Anderson. What's happening here in St. Louis breaks new ground in that it provides a different way to talk about one of the most divisive issues of our day. In fact, the event is billed not as a debate, but as a reasonable conversation.
So much of the marriage debate that we see in public on stage does involve the sound bites, the zingers, the how do I slam this guy and get everybody to cheer and yell and laugh and clap. And we want to do something different.
A non-denominational evangelical church, The Journey, organized the evening. It drew a younger crowd with a wide range of beliefs, but all hoping for a deep exploration of the issue.
We're really honestly just wondering what both sides have to say. I'm happy that it's even happening in general, that it's something that people are talking about.
I think people should support homosexuality and gay marriage and all those things. And I find it interesting that people are so against it, just, from a religious standpoint.
As the evening progressed, it became clear that Corvino and Anderson, while calmly sipping tea, would not shy away from speaking to the hardest points, like this on equality.
Conceptions like fairness and equality are massively disputed here. Sure. The LGBT movement has done a very good job of branding itself and claiming equality. And I think there's just a fundamental disagreement over what the conditions of equality are.
And the value of marriage for gays.
Relationships are good for people, and marriage is good for relationships. Marriage is a way of recognizing people as the family unit they understand themselves to be.
Also addressed harassment of gays and intolerance for Christians.
So it may be the case that in many rural communities and suburban communities, LGBT people experience severe hostility and repression, and that's unfortunate. But it is also the case that if you get into an elite context in the academy, in Hollywood, in New York, and some of these places, there are genuine social costs that people with conservative positions on human sexuality pay.
What seemed to make the evening work, Corvino and Anderson's willingness to engage on all questions while showing humor along the way.
I'm interested in a Christianity that thinks not only about our current situation, but that thinks 500 years down the road. And if we...
That's a lot to have on your mind.
It's a lot to have on your mind, but I think it's actually a responsible thing to do, to think multi-generationally about this.
In the end, no one converted to the other side, but those we spoke with felt better informed and grateful that neither side turned on the other.
I think it's good that there's a dialogue going on, that, it's not a us versus them.
It's natural to disagree. That's just human nature. But to be able to be, poignant, but at the same time, not offensive and just open about that dialogue, I thought was awesome.
I come from a Christian background, and so getting to hear both sides and getting to especially hear John coming from the atheistic view and getting to hear his perspective was really enlightening.
As the church seeks to find its voice in a culture that frequently dismisses biblical views, such forums could pave the way. Author and speaker Eric Metaxas says believers must explore a variety of approaches. The key, he says, showing boldness, humility, and love.
If your heart does not break for somebody struggling with same-sex attraction, you have no business talking to them or even about them. We're called to love people, right? And so if people don't see that love, how are they not going to tune us out?
If it's up to Corvino and Anderson, they'll take this show on the road. A small step, perhaps, but one that could lead the way for addressing an issue that affects us all. Reporting in St. Louis, Heather Sells, CBN News.